Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021, and happy Thanksgiving. I hope many of you are as happy about Thanksgiving as I am. Thanksgiving season, right up through the Christmas holidays, man. It's just a beautiful, soulful, thoughtful, thankful time of the year. And even though we're still a couple of days away from it, today and tomorrow are the big Thanksgiving travel days for those traveling across country to visit with your loved ones. On a day we announce our thanks for the blessings in our lives. I got to do a couple of little quick things here. One, Antley, I need to congratulate Antley that his South Carolina Gamecocks beat my Auburn Tigers this last weekend. So, Antley, congratulations. I know you've enjoyed it, and right on. Uh, the knee replacement is coming along well, and we are. Well, I see Antley just put something in. You just missed. I just talked about you, buddy. So, congratulations on your victory. Knee replacement is coming along well, and I had my fourth physical therapy yesterday, and we're getting there, man. We're getting there. So, welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom, brought to you by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Now, 2021 has been a tough year for many. Maybe not as tough for some, but there's always something to be thankful for. There's always a bright side somewhere. I mean, this year I lost four men in my life who were instrumental in shaping and forming me into who I am. My dad, my dad's brother, my uncle, two brothers-in-laws. We've also lost an aunt and another cousin. But we have also been able to grow our business, watch our son grow, watch his family grow, watch them grow individually, watch the grands grow into their teen years. So, yeah, we are thankful. We are grateful. And we're looking forward to whatever is ahead. Life is good, and you better believe it. Our G list guest today believes in that simple phrase: life is good, life is special, life is blessed. Life is what you can do to assist others, especially on a day, a season where we acknowledge not just our own, but others. Our G list guest today is DonDee Osburn, Director of Operations for the Grace Klein, get it together, Grace Klein Community Team. Grace Klein Community is a Birmingham area nonprofit that last year donated more than $2.1 million in groceries to 25,000 households. Let me say that again. Last year, they donated $2.1 million in groceries to 25,000 households. Yes, we salute you. Thank you very, very much. What a great topic to discuss as we are thankful and grateful for this wonderful season in our lives. So the G List is sponsored by Mainstream Financial. Mainstream Financial brings financial vision and clarity to your retirement plans. Talk to the folks at Mainstream Financial. Don't let your money run out before you do. This edition of Tuesdays with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Best Girl has been providing customized solutions to executive issues for 34 years. Let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl creates a solution that fits your needs. Okay, so let's go to our round table and talk to our round table regulars. Let me introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards to you. Barbara, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing well and grateful for this holiday season. How are you?
I'm the same. I'm just feeling really, really good about it. And I know it's been tough for a lot of people in a lot of areas, but
Yes,
we just hopefully will lift them up
yes.
and we'll feel good about it. So, what's going on with you for Thanksgiving?
Well, for Thanksgiving, I'm here in Atlanta with family. My niece and her husband are having the entire family over from my side of the family. So here, and we'll be helping with some Thanksgiving meal preparation. Looking
Now,
forward
you
to it.
said I'm here in Atlanta. Now, you normally I'm here, and that means you're in Birmingham. So you know
Right.
you're out and about then.
Yes, yes, I am.
Tell me what you got a favorite Thanksgiving?
I do, Tom. My parents have always been big on giving back to the community and getting involved in the community service. So my most favorite Thanksgiving memory is when my parents came up to Birmingham one year and we volunteered for a food shelter and actually served meals to the homeless on one Thanksgiving. And that's the most memorable one because again, the entire family got together and we all went down and served at this mission downtown in Birmingham, and it was absolutely phenomenal. The people were so grateful for the hot meal that day, and that's something that's going to stand with me forever.
Does something to warm your soul, huh?
Absolutely.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, let's get Michael Walker on here. Michael, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing well this morning. Good morning to you,
Yeah.
Barbara. I hope you both are doing well also.
Thank you.
So talk to
Yes.
me about your Thanksgiving.
Well, as far as my Thanksgiving for 2021, it's going to be low key and hopefully uneventful. I always use this time of year for self reflection to think about what I accomplished previously and what I hope to accomplish moving forward, what I could have done differently, and how to maybe do some self improvement. So that's usually what I do. It's always a good time of the year for me because growing up with my grandparents, it was always pleasant because you had everybody home. You know, my grandfather wasn't off on the road working, he was there, so that was a joy. And it always seemed to be a happy occasion. And they emphasize being thankful for the blessings you did have, not what you don't have, you know.
Right.
So,
You know, I guess I grew up in a working class family and a working class neighborhood, and I don't remember anybody having an abundance of anything, but there was always more than enough,
Yes.
and there was more than enough so that you shared with
Yes.
people who maybe didn't have as much. And I think for me, it's always that idea of what can we do for somebody else. You know, we
Yes.
kind of spend the year uh, doing for ourselves, and so I do. I find that and I'm glad we got our G list guest on today because I think that's a big part of what what they do. Obviously,
Yes.
Barbara, any further
Yes.
comments?
Yes, I like you. I want to offer congratulations to our friend Antley and the South Carolina Gamecocks on their win on Saturday. He's been talking
Lord,
about
that
this for.
means there's gonna be about 50 more comments before we can get off the. You can get off
Well,
the
there were probably going to be about 50 more comments anyway.
probably,
So I just want to go ahead
probably
and get that out. To
right.
congratulate Antley. He started posting before the game even started on Saturday on social media, tagging both you and I as Auburn alums. I think he forgets that Michael is also an alum, so he don't bother him. He won't let us forget that. So just
Wow.
want to offer congratulations to the South Carolina Gamecocks and their win over Auburn on Saturday.
Okay. All right. Well, Antley, he's still posting, so obviously he probably didn't hear you because he was posting, but he'll react. He'll react in a little while.
Yes.
Michael, you got some further Thanksgiving thoughts and comments?
well, I do have some further Thanksgiving thoughts and comments, and something I like to kind of tie into this. Barbara mentioned that she and her family will go out to homeless shelters and try and provide support to those that do not have. And, you know, from a political standpoint, we're doing redistricting all across the nation. And we do that every 10 years. We also do the census count. And a lot of people are suspicious of the census. But what it actually does, it provides support, financial support to those people that need it most. And I had some information that came across, and I just want to encourage everybody in our listening audience to please participate in the census. Because what it does, when you underrepresent yourself, you don't have representation in Washington or the states. And just from an idea of what the impact is as a result of undercounting, there are several southern states that are going to lose Medicaid assistance as well as healthcare assistance for the poor because they were underrepresented. And to give you an idea, Alabama is going to lose $5 million for funding for the poor.
We'll build a prison and make up for
right.
it. We'll make money off the prison. So,
Yeah.
let's just go on. What was that, Var?
That's in my poor state.
Well,
yeah.
You know, that's healthcare for the poor people that do not have it, that they lose that much money. You know, Georgia, 47 million, Florida, $88 million as a result of undercounting.
There was, you know, I'd like to just flip that subject just for a minute, I was talking and in thinking about Thanksgiving and thinking about things that are coming up, and we talk about maybe doing the soup kitchens and things such as that. There is, I think one of the things that has happened, and when we get off of this show, there is a feeling, and I don't know what else to call it other than a feeling, but there's an elation that goes with it because you actually feel like you're helping somebody.
Yes.
By the information that's dispensed and the discussions that go on. You know, when we've tried to get people, when we first started reaching out to people to come on the show, one of the first things we had to say was, this is not a gotcha thing.
Right.
We're not into the whole gotcha world. We're into sharing information. And so maybe we're not the ones that are at the kitchen actually feeding the people, but we can feed them in other ways that will allow them to better their lives and the lives of the people who they love. And so we all can play a part. We all can add something to this whole thing about Thanksgiving, this whole thing about giving for others. And so I'm proud to have been able to work with you guys for the last year or so. This is our, I don't know, I guess Emily will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is our 63rd show. And it's been a blessing. It's, well, let me see, she just checked.
Yes, 63rd.
There you go. There you go. I'm proud, and I hope that you guys are. So I just want to say thank you to everybody on the show. Thank you to our audience and so on and so forth. We appreciate you, and I have a great and wonderful Thanksgiving. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anything else from you guys before I go on?
I'll just remember you talk about giving back. My grandfather used to have me at this time of the year and Christmas time. He would have me load up all the toys that I didn't play with any longer, and we would take them off to the rural parts of Auburn. And yes, you can be more rural than Auburn for those of you that's listening, but we would go into those areas and he would have me give away my toys that I no longer played with because I was raised as an only child, and and I was the first grandchild. So I had a lot of things. You know, I remember times I had 2 or 3 bikes and all kinds of cowboy boots and guns and stuff. And he would always say, this is the time of year you need to think about children that are less fortunate than you. And so I grew up with that being a part of my DNA, if you will. And we would go off, and and at first I didn't understand it because I felt like he was taken away from me. But when we went out to visit those people and the kids would come up to the back of the truck and I'm giving them things, I felt really good. So that goes back to what your comment was, Thom, a few minutes ago about the elation and the feeling that you disseminated information that can help people. That was the feeling I got as a young kid, being able to give away a bicycle to somebody that didn't have one when I had 2 or 3, So
that's great, man. It's a great story. It's a great feeling. Thank God that your grandparents instilled that in you.
Absolutely. And Thom, I want to add to that because that's a good point. A lot of people say they don't have time to volunteer with an organization, but like Michael said, you don't have to volunteer with an organization in order to give back. You can look at your own personal, your household. There's probably a friend or neighbor or someone that or associated with that has a need, and you can help them privately. You don't have to let anyone else know about it. I do that quite often. There are kids at Auburn that I have helped that have I know is, maybe from a single parent home or their parents are not helping them at all. And sometimes I just reach out to them and ask them what do they need, or just send them something through the mail because they may be in need. So again, it doesn't have to be necessarily through an organization, but just find someone that you can help. And that always brings joy to my life.
Good deal. Well, along that line, it's always interesting when a parent will come up over the years. I've done a lot of stuff down there, and a parent will come up and talk about their child and tell you what an influence you were on their child, or thank you for something you did for their child or said to their child or whatever. And that's always cool. Before we move on, I'll tell you one quick story. You get into the Thanksgiving season and it just kind of flows right into the Christmas season. And so
yes,
generally you got about 2 more weeks to get work out of people. And then after that, it's over, man.
Yes.
It's like, okay, I see you after the first of the year. So one night, one of my friends, one of my buddies called me. This was a few years ago. We were younger, and so he bought a kitchen set for his daughter. Those little kitchen sets, easy bake oven, the whole deal, whatever. And so he needed some help putting it together. And so he and I were probably the 2 worst guys in the world to be trying to put something together at 2:00 in the morning on Christmas Eve, and we're drinking and we're laughing and we're talking, and we get it together, and it's sitting there, and it's like, oh man, that is great. And we look, and we got about 20 screws left. It's like, well, where did these go? It's like, well,
that poor child.
Put them back in the plastic.
We'll find out tomorrow.
So I told him, I said, so you just use those when you need them. That's not part of the regular set.
Just have to know, did it work the next morning? The kitchen set fall apart.
I was gone. So it was on him. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you guys. Any final comments before we move on?
Yeah. A friend of mine told me that he was in line grocery shopping the other day, and a lady was in front of him doing a holiday shopping, and she had a turkey, and it was like about a 15-pound turkey, and she put it on the cashier counter and said, do these get any bigger? And the cashier looked at it and said, no, it's dead.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yes.
All right. What's one more quick little thing? And this is not directly related to Thanksgiving. I was watching this thing on Undercover Boss. And this guy just went off on this company, not realizing he's talking to the boss.
Right.
He just talked about how sorry the company was. I hate the customers. I hate them, And this guy is sitting there looking at him. And I started thinking, man, did I ever do anything like that? I don't think I only had one or two jobs that I just didn't like that,
Right.
and it was a big corporation, so I couldn't tell it. I did tell it to my boss though, but that was okay because he needed to know. But I just thought that was so funny. So
Yes.
could that have ever happened to you, undercover boss? So let's get to the G list and have some fun here. The G list, where everybody is a star, is sponsored by Mainstream Financial Group. Mainstream Financial provides financial services for both individuals and businesses. Let's hear from Mainstream.
Mainstream Financial Group provides financial services for both individuals and businesses. Mainstream's mission is to understand the unique needs of every client and work closely with you, assembling a team to develop and manage your resources to help you accomplish your defined financial goals. Mainstream's financial professionals will provide you with a complimentary, no obligation financial review. Now, these professionals can then offer you custom advice to mend together the pieces of your financial life and come up with a plan that is truly comprehensive. Mainstream Financial assists retirees and those close to retirement in planning for a secure retirement so not to run out of money during your lifetime. You can take advantage of opportunities with tailored advice and the resources to act on it. Mainstream Financial Group, www.mainstreamfg.com, 205-324-0589.
Financial Group, financial vision and clarity. If you don't know where you're going, you certainly don't know if you ever will arrive there. And if you arrive there without any money, you're in bad shape. So let's get to our G list again. Remember how today Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list where everybody is a star. And our G list guest today is DonDee Osburn. She's the director of operations for the Grace Klein Community team. She was introduced to Grace Klein as a volunteer in 2014 and is now honored to serve in a full-time capacity. She received a bachelor's of business administration from Faulkner University. This program that they run is implemented by Birmingham area volunteers. They serve low-income individuals in Jefferson, Shelby, Walker, St. Clair, Blount, Bibb, Tuscaloosa, Chilton, Coleman, Coffee, Greene, Lamar, Madison, Montgomery, Morgan, Randolph, and Talladega counties. Let's get DonDee on here. DonDee, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Thom. How are you?
I got tired just reading all the places where you guys are doing great things. Tell us about Grace Klein. I always just like to start out and let you tell us about Grace Klein.
Wonderful. Well, Grace Klein Community was started in 2010, and it came about when founders Jenny and Jason Waltman, their daughter was in a younger school, and she saw the disparity between her friends' stations in life. For example, she'd go to a birthday party where there were bouncy houses and big elaborate things, and she'd go to a birthday party where there was not. She began worrying about her friends who had lesser than. And that started a very simple food box ministry. I think they gave out 59 or 60 food boxes the first time, where Jenny and Jason just got a group together from their neighborhood, their church, and packed some food boxes with some leftovers that they had, some extras that they had in their pantries, and gave them out. And that's where Grace Klein Community was born. Now, I started volunteering there in 2014, and funny story is I just came to help a friend of mine who was doing a food rescue at a local grocery store. She had needed another vehicle. So my husband and I went up and helped them load up, and we went back to the Grace Klein Community house for the first time. And we were sorting through the groceries, putting them up, and I had a pepper in my hand, a bell pepper that had a rotten spot on it. Very innocently, I asked my friend, "Where's the trash can?" so I could throw the pepper away. Her eyes got as big as saucers, and she said, "We don't throw things away." She said that would make Jenny sad. Well, my first thought was, who is Jenny, and why would she be sad if I threw away a rotten bell pepper? But that's the whole premise of Grace Klein Community, is that the rest of that pepper could be used. We
Okay.
just cut away the bad part, and that's a lot like life in general, right? All of us have
Ah,
a past, all of us have things that
right.
we could have done better, but we're still able to be used.
You use the term food rescue. Can you tell me, explain that to me? Is that rescuing that bell pepper? Is that what we're talking? But go ahead.
That's what we're talking about. Did you know that over 40% of food in the United States ends up being thrown away, not
Wow.
eaten by people in one form or another? We like to connect the excess of food, the abundance of food that we have. All it takes is for someone to go and rescue it before it's thrown away and
Okay.
bring it back. And from that point, we give it out to people who need it.
Okay. Now you guys do thousands of meals, I guess, or giving food away or what have you. Is it more special at Thanksgiving time?
It is, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Of course, Thanksgiving is the holiday that centers around food. And if you're food insecure, it just puts a spotlight on the fact.
And define that food insecure for them, please.
So, food insecurity, a lot of us feel like that means that you have no, a lot of us feel like we know it's the very poor that have problems finding food, and that's just not true. A lot of the clients that we serve are um, middle class, lower middle class, who are just living paycheck to paycheck, and they have to make a decision. Do I pay the power bill or do I get groceries?
Mm.
And so if you're food insecure, you just don't have a regular, certain idea that you will have food within the coming days.
Hmm.
So that's
Uh,
where that comes from.
and how has it been different, for better or worse, during the pandemic?
The pandemic, before the pandemic, Grace Klein Community was serving
I mean,
approximately,
to give away food. Go ahead. No, no, you go ahead.
uh, before the pandemic, Grace Klein Community was serving approximately 120,000 people a year.
Wow.
And those were repeat customers. You know, we have people come once a week, twice a week, depending on their need. Since the pandemic began, we opened our first drive-through at the end of March 2020 as a way just to serve people in a socially appropriate way for the times. Since then, until the end of October of this year, we have served just over 950,000 people. Those are
Wow.
not unique people now, they're repeat people,
Sure.
but 950,000 people have come through
Mm.
our drive-through to get food support since the pandemic began.
And it's a drive-through. How does that? Tell us how that works, and where do you set up and
Sure.
all that stuff?
We have 6 different locations throughout the greater Birmingham area. We started with one, and it was at Liberty Church in Birmingham. And people come through, we take food there, we prepare boxes of everything that we have. It varies from day to day depending on what's been rescued. We provide as many fresh fruits and vegetables as we can, meats, a variety, dairy, nutritional things. The boxes are prepared and by volunteers for the most part. We do have a couple of staff members on site. Prepared by all volunteers, you drive up, a box is put in the trunk of your car, maybe 2 boxes depending on the size of your family. You are prayed for unless you choose not to, and then you're on your way. You don't ever have to get out of your car.
Mm. That's amazing. Uh, I just let me get Barbara on here. I had a thought, but I slipped my mind. Barbara, you want to comment? You want to
I
jump in here?
do. I do. Good morning, DonDee. How are
Good
you?
morning, Barbara. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Grace Klein has been such a blessing to me. I have volunteered doing some food rescues as well as being on the other end of that. I have several families that I help out who are in need, and there's one particular family that is very shy. They don't want anyone to know that they're in need. So they will call me from time to time and say, we don't know how we're going to make prepare meals for the family for this next week or so. Can you help us out? So I have gone to Grace Klein, used my own ID and information because again, they don't want anyone to know that they're in need, and I will pick up food for them and deliver it to them. And so it has just been such a blessing. So how do you get volunteers, and how do you reach out to people to let them even know about Grace Klein and what you have to offer?
Well, we use social media a lot. And on our website, there is a section where you can go and see all of our volunteer opportunities. And we have volunteer opportunities for someone who has all day to give, half a day to give, but even those who just have an hour. A food rescue generally takes an hour to complete, and you can provide 100 meals just by donating an hour of your time. And it works very simply. You go to the app, which I can give you the address for the app, but you go to the app, you sign up, and you choose a rescue that's near you in your time frame on the day and time that you're available. You go pick it up and you take it back to the Grace Klein Community office, weigh it in, and put it away like you would your groceries. So it's very simple for people to be able to get involved.
And do you still need volunteers? How many volunteers do you need on a weekly basis?
We always need volunteers. And of course, our volunteer base varies between, depending on what we have going on. But we average generally between 650, 700 food rescues a month. And that's growing exponentially. Our first food rescue in March, when we first started using the app, I think we had 5 that month. And this month we're on schedule to do closer to 700.
Wow. And I know I get the text almost on a daily basis saying there's a food rescue you need, and so you need volunteers to do that. So you have a system in place to let the volunteers know when there's a food rescue need, where it's located, and who can help, and even the size of vehicle that's needed to pick up that particular rescue. So would you like to share with us some of the companies who donate the food, who provide the food for the food rescues?
Absolutely. We have a lot of Publix locations. They've been one of our longest and most faithful food rescue partners. We get food from a local Walmart, the Trader Joe's in our area. They are a huge donator of food, and there's a lot of smaller grocery stores, Winn-Dixie's. It's really all over, and that's not even to mention our restaurants. We have interesting story. We rescue from a local Hispanic grocery store that has a buffet type setup, and we'll go rescue food from them at the end of a couple of days a week and bring it back. And we recently had some missionaries from Colombia to stay locally, and they helped one of our regular volunteers with that particular food rescue, and was thrilled to be able to have a meal that was authentic for their culture while they were staying here in Birmingham. They said usually we get a lot of casseroles, but they were able to have their authentic cuisine just because they went and helped with a food rescue.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Let me go over to Mike. I think while you mentioned the companies, a couple of companies I'm familiar with, I think are Jack's Family Restaurants, who are good friends of mine, and Alabama Power Foundation,
Yes.
people who do wonderful work in the community. Michael, you got some comments for us?
Good morning, DonDee. How are you today?
Good morning, Michael. Wonderful. Thank you.
Glad you're here. Before I get started, let me just compliment you on that. Last year we had COVID in 2020, and it wreaked havoc on everything. And I see where you guys served over 25,000 households in 2020, and you helped 101,000 people. In addition to that, you rescued a value of over $2 million worth of food. So that's monumental to be able to do that in 2020. So congratulations goes off to you and the leadership that you are portraying to be able to do that there. Um, One of the questions, and I think you kind of talked on it, was that you also rescue food that's already been prepared, like maybe from different venues. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Have you ever utilized any hotels? Because I know that sometimes when hotels do a lot of catering events and stuff, they have extra food left over. And I was somewhere and I was just surprised to find that they will go and throw that food out. And instead of taking it to a homeless shelter or giving it to homeless people. So I wanted to ask you if you had any partnerships with hotels that you could maybe pick up food like that, or have you done that?
We're always pursuing new avenues of pickup. Michael, one of the problems with the large, especially larger chains, is, in today's climate, the legality of donating leftover food. What if the food that I donate makes someone sick and they're setting themselves up for, a lawsuit? And what a lot of corporations are not aware of is that we have a Good Samaritan law in place, which protects companies and organizations that donate food. And it says that, as long as it's handled properly, like it's supposed to be, you are exempt from being able to be legally responsible for the off chance that someone will get sick. So that's a barrier that we're trying to combat just with simple education. We have a packet put in place for people who would like to be a food rescue partner but don't know how to get involved, and it does include information on that Good Samaritan law that helps them understand. Um, as long as they're donating the food in good faith, right? They're protected by law.
Well, that's good to
Good.
know. Yeah, that's
Definitely.
absolutely good to know. One other question I had is that I know that you and your husband run a successful heating and air conditioning business, and it's entitled, the name of it is Covington Heating and Air. Tell us the thread with the name of Covington. Does that have anything to do with what you're doing with the ministry? Why you're doing it? Are you tying the two together, or how'd you come up with that name?
Well, we started Covenant Heating and Cooling before we started volunteering with Grace Klein Community, and Covenant is representative of the fact that we um, have a covenant with our customers. My husband has been in heating and air for almost 30 years and just got tired of the bigger corporations kind of pushing the bottom line, pushing the dollar. And we wanted to treat customers more with a promise that we were going to take care of them. And that's where the name covenant came from. But it's funny how God leads us, because he led us right into a relationship with Grace Klein Community, which they also encourage relationships. So we have a saying: resources, relationships, restoration. That's at Grace Klein Community. And we have resources to cultivate relationships with people. And ultimately, we want restoration of families, restoration of people, restorations of relationships with the Lord, restoration of our city. So it all kind of fits together.
Okay.
One of the things I find interesting in your material, 90% of the people who volunteer with you guys have received food from Grace Klein. So obviously, you guys have touched a lot of souls out there and a lot of hearts, and they come back and then want to share that experience with others. You want to chat on about that for a minute?
Sure. I myself, my family has received food from Grace Klein. After we began volunteering, we hit a rough patch, as everybody does, and we encourage people to get food from Grace Klein and use the money they would have spent on groceries on other obligations, utilities, rent, things of that nature. So it's a win-win situation. We're rescuing food, keeping it from ending up in the landfill, and people are able to then put their hard-earned paycheck towards something else. I think that people feel a connection with what we're doing because uh, we're we have no hidden agenda. We just want to get good food in the hands of good people that just may be going through a difficult time. And when you see that, you you're drawn to that. You want to be a part of it, and that's how we've grown exponentially, especially in the pandemic. Just people becoming aware of our services. We do other things besides food. We offer diaper and wipe support to families. Um,
Say that again.
we offer a diapers and wipes support to families in a
Okay.
partnership with Bundles of Hope. We're able to
Okay.
give
I
that out.
thought you said diaper and wipe, and it's like, oh, okay.
Not personally. We
That's
provide resources for people to do.
that's a little bit. That's going a little far there. But,
We get our hands dirty, Tom. We get in there.
that's what I was wondering. Oh man,
It's
hey,
all about those relationships.
yeah, I think one of the things who came and this other food rescue, who came up with that phraseology, food rescue. That's pretty cool.
So it's a movement that's across the country. People are really tired of seeing the waste, like Michael was talking, being just amazed at the amount of food that's thrown away at the end of large events, or in grocery stores. If it gets just one, 2 or 3 days before the expiration date, grocery stores will cull their meats or vegetables and get rid of them for optics, for
Hmm.
being able to sell the best. And it just is such a heart issue for us. It's not a wise use of our resources. We're not being good stewards of the things that God has given us. And so food rescue is not unique to us. We didn't necessarily coin the phrase, but over this 2021, this year, we have really focused on the food rescue piece. Um, we're slated to rescue. Last year, we rescued 307,000 pounds of food. This year, we're on track to rescue, um, let me get my numbers up, over 1 million pounds of food by the end of 2021.
And I mentioned the Olive Power Foundation because I saw where they donated coolers. Because when you get this food, you got to put it somewhere, right? You gotta keep it fresh and keep it available to then transfer it to somewhere else. So where do you guys take it? I mean, you got these locations? Is one central, or you got several? How does that work?
You would be amazed at what we
I
have,
think.
what my staff and volunteers. Man, you were talking about, the leadership. We would be nowhere without this army of volunteers that we have that give of their time and their resources every single day. We have basically a house, and this is not a large house. It's a regular house that someone used to live in, that we have freezers and refrigerators just about in every single corner, nook, and cranny that we have. And we bring the food back there. Our goal is to get it back out as quickly as possible because, especially the fresh fruits and vegetables, are on the timeline. And we are excited about being able to do that. But in all honesty, we're spread across about 10 different locations where we have things stored, where we have personnel, and we are desperately praying for a larger facility to be able to bring it all in house, to be able to serve everyone much better.
If you're sitting out there this morning and you're watching this, and maybe you're a little bit shy about you were the one in school that wouldn't raise your hand if you knew the answer, and so you're a little bit shy about raising your hand to volunteer. Are there other ways that you can help? Are there other things you can do besides just deliver the food? I'm sure you can always give money. Are there things you can do, other things you can do?
Most definitely. We have such a wide variety of volunteer needs. We have administrative needs. Right now, we are in our Christmas gift campaign. We're sponsoring um, children for Christmas, and the
Oh, that's great.
people actually bring toys to one of our locations. They're processed, organized, and then given out to the family. So there's administrative work to do. There's organizational work to do. Um, of course, like you mentioned, you can donate to Grace Klein Community with us looking for a larger facility, and just keeping the everything running right. It takes dollars, and so that's another way that you could help.
Okay, sounds good. Barbara, Michael, you got anything else?
Yes, I was going to ask about the transportation. I know with the food rescues, a lot of times individuals use their own vehicles to transport the food from the point where it's volunteer donated and to the Grace Klein home. But does Grace Klein have vehicles that they also use? And if so, how many? Is there a need for additional vehicles? How are those purchased? Tell us about that whole process.
Sure. So we have what we call a box van. First of all, it's kind of like a U-Haul van. And then we last year was able to purchase a 26-foot refrigerated box truck. A lot of our larger food rescues won't fit into a traditional vehicle. Not only that, but it's food that is frozen or refrigerated, and in order to be able to get it from point to point, it has to stay refrigerated. So we have that vehicle that we use. We also have just a cargo van that we're able to do kind of medium-sized rescues. A little bit too big for a personal vehicle, but not quite big enough to take one of our larger vehicles to. We did a campaign to purchase the refrigerated truck last year. So we were able to get that, and it was very helpful during the pandemic for us to be able to use that. So that's the vehicles that we have at this point. Gosh, we see this just growing, because until we can stop food waste right in our area and then spiral outward, there's just never enough vehicles, never enough volunteers, because there's a never-ending need, a never-ending
Right.
supply of people who need it.
Yes, that's great. I was actually in a store one day, and there was a particular food item that I was there to purchase, and someone was pulling it from the shelf, and it was an employee, and I said, I would like to purchase that. He said, I'm sorry, this is being donated. And I was like, but I'm here. I'm in the store. I'm a customer. He was like, we've already committed to donating this, so I'm sorry, you'll have to go to another store. Which, again, I didn't mind, but I was pleased at how committed the store was to ensuring that what they committed to donate was being donated. That's great.
One of the things I think, just information that's coming over in our comments, you guys have a Facebook page, and obviously there's a lot of information there. And of course, a lot of information is disseminated through social media. So for those of you out there watching and looking or listening or what have you, you can go to, I'm assuming it's Grace Klein Facebook. I imagine that'll get you close if that's not the exact thing to do.
Grace Klein Community on Facebook it's okay. Grace Klein Community. That's our page.
Okay. All righty. And so, Michael, you got anything else?
Well, the last thing is, it seems like, DonDee, you've had a background or a career in nonprofits. What is it about nonprofits that attract you to it, or do you have a special skill set for working with nonprofits?
I am just an ordinary person who, through working with nonprofits, we are able to serve, right, and impact different areas of the population, just like you guys with this wonderful show, getting information out to people, right? It's all about connection, and nonprofits generally connect resources with people who need it. And if not for that connection of wonderful nonprofits, people wouldn't be able to get the things that they need. So that's always drawn me to stay in this type of work.
One of the things we've always talked about from the very start is ordinary people do extraordinary things.
Agreed,
and generally great things come from that. So before we leave, DonDee, is there anything else anything we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about before we leave? It's been very educational. Thank you.
I think just the collaboration of nonprofit organizations, um, our partners, and our volunteers. It's all about building relationships with those around you. Premise at Grace Klein Community is if we all give what we all have what we need, and that's just the basis with which we operate. So no matter where you are, no matter where you're working, no matter where you live, there are always opportunities for relationships and collaboration around you.
Well, I think sometimes, when we stop focusing on the negative, if we ever stop focusing on the negative, and fussing and fighting with each other and building prisons in Alabama, uh, maybe we can do some wonderful things for a lot of people,
Yes.
and that's what this is about. That's what this day has been about. That's what Thanksgiving is about for me.
It is.
So, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Barbara. I appreciate the connection. Thank you for your work with
Absolutely.
Grace Klein Community. We appreciate you so much. And thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tom, for having us, Michael, for
Sure.
your insight.
All right. Okay, let me close out with a little commentary. When I was growing up, I can remember all the time parents would tell their children, "You better eat that food. There's starving children in Africa, and they need that food." And there are probably a lot of starving children within 50 miles of your home. And so this is one way to help deal with that. Grace Klein Community, we're very, 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 very grateful. Thank you, guys. Generally, when we finish doing a show, we have a little time to talk afterwards. And I can truthfully say that there is such a feeling of having made a small contribution to our betterment, to society's betterment, by bringing information that generally helps people across a broad spectrum of our society. There's a general sense of quiet elation. Everybody sort of has a grin on their face at the end of a show. We did something good, and it wasn't just about us in some selfish sense or um, some silly football game. I believe the cast and crew feel really good about what we're doing, making a small contribution. And when we get to spend time with someone like DonDee and understand how blessed and talk about Grace Klein Community, how blessed we are and how we can pass along those blessings to others, how can you not? How can you not feel good about it? And that's going to be our show for today, November 23rd, 2021. And yes, we feel pretty damn good about it, having a thankful Thanksgiving. So remember to look beyond yourself and to think about what it is you can do to assist others. I want to thank the audience for being with us. We appreciate you. I want to thank Michael and Barbara. Thank our G-list guest, DonDee Osburn. Our upcoming G-list guests on Tuesday with Thom are Keith Stevens. And I'm always unsure if I'm saying that correctly. It's either Keith Stevens or Kai Stevens. I'm sure when she's on here, she will correct me. And Kelly Thompson. Thank our sponsors, Best Girl Inc. And Mainstream Financial Group. Somebody who you think would make a great guest, please refer them to us at either Thom at Best Girl or Emily at Best Girl. Thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, our producer. Thanks Sean Jones, the organizer. And remember to enjoy yourself. Have a great and wonderful Thanksgiving. Make every day count. Do something for others. Stay safe. Peace.